Hello, welcome to my little workshop, my little man cave. I am Doug, welcome. Hello. So I've had a very emotionally charged, taxing 24 hours. Thanks to this little box right here, which I recall seeing when I was 5 years old and on. When my father had custody of me, this box was always around. You know, he passed away 10 years ago. I haven't been able to bring myself to look at it until yesterday. I knew it was going to be emotionally taxing and I just didn't want to deal with it, or I just avoided it. And the other day I was thinking, I'm 50. I could drop dead tomorrow and never have looked. And I'm really glad I did. The pictures in here are absolutely incredible. They're historic. The timeline of everything is amazing. The pictures are amazing. There's probably close to 1,000. And I've got to do a video about it. It's just incredible. The whole thing is so neat. I am fairly sure my dad may not have had a place to live at the time he joined the Marine Corps in 56, 54. Because the address he used was this lady's friend of the family's address. So I have to think that he may have joined simply to see the world. He was not like a military guy. He never owned a gun. He rarely swore. And this didn't occur to me till today, I never once heard him use a racial or derogatory term towards a race or a religion or anything like that. Never once. Jew this, nig that, nothing. Never once. And being from this era, it's kind of unusual. Usually people from this time frame are usually prejudiced, but he wasn't at all. And he just never was like that. He was a I would almost call him like a Peace Corps type. Very hippie like. He got to see some amazing places in his tenure in the Marines. A good 10 years, I think he was in. A full 10 years. And I think he may have started to get in a little bit of trouble. He didn't like talking about it very much, but I think he had his own little black market going there. Not with drugs, but with other stuff, alcohol. He did become an intensely bad alcoholic in his time in the military. And when he came out, he married my mother, but it didn't last. He was too much of an alcoholic, and I think his alcohol played a part in him getting discharged. He was, not a dishonorable discharge, but I think I don't know, he could have blown it somehow between drinking or whatever was going on. Because the story was interesting that his closest friend was a personal driver of the commander of the whole base. And they had the ability to get pretty much anything you wanted. So some type of little black market was happening. He was in the supply chain. My father was never a really frontline guy. He was always in the back. So he was with the 1st Marine Aircraft Wing in Japan, Okinawa, Japan. And what it is where they take all the aircraft beginning in Korean War to get repaired. And it was a complex of bunkers and repair facilities for like Hueys and Sabre jets, Fury jets. So he was in a supply situation. it appears. So some of the pictures he did have stripes on them, but he was in supply, and he was in the aircraft wing, which was basically taking care of all the Marine Corps aircraft. A lot of pretty interesting stuff. It's really like a timeline, right with starting with his acceptance into the Corps, his letter, the letters to my grandfather, who I don't think my dad even told him, because they weren't close. My grandfather's even bigger alcoholic than my dad was. So it was weird that it was like addressed to nobody, pretty much. But yeah, it was original acceptance into the Corps in 1954. This little card is I forgot what they call it. It's a training, altitude training, I guess, that all Marines that are going to fly, they take like an altitude training, and that's what that is. There was an address on the back that I looked up from Canton, Ohio, but it's long gone. There's nothing there. This was a Thanksgiving Day menu from his base, with some stuff from the commanders and the menu itself, and I looked everything. Oh man, I spent unbelievable amount of time researching every person, every name, everything on here, all of this stuff. And one of the very first pictures, and it was like a great way to start this, was this picture of him diving. I already misplaced it. Yep, his picture of him diving. So he was in, Japan, China, Hawaii, Korea, even North Korea, South Korea, just traveling like crazy. And this is one of the pictures, first ones that I found, and it had something of his shitty handwriting on the back. Me diving off cliff at one other something falls. So I started Googling it. I actually found it, and it's this Waimea Falls in Honolulu, Hawaii. And do you know I found the exact goddamn spot that he is in? Literally exactly the spot from 60 years ago. It's pretty neat. So this is how it was a neat way to start this whole little venture. But as I was looking at this picture of the falls, let me see if I can get it to focus a little bit better. You can see pretty clearly some of these rocks. Hang on here. For example, focus. This rock here. And I was looking. This is the exact same rock. Hang on, wait. It's so bright in here, first of all. Well, long story short, if you make this too long, but to be able to find the exact spot from this picture from 60 years ago, right up, the first thing I did was find this thing, and it just got me all working, going, and just, I started to research all these pictures, and it's amazing. It's amazing. This is just one thing, but yeah, if you look close enough, you can tell this is the exact spot. This big rock slice right here, and these veins here, you can see them pretty clearly right there. So that's how it started. I'm like, holy shit, that's the exact spot. It's some big park in Hawaii, but I was like, oh my gosh. So his misspelling and everything, I was able to actually find this. And there were some other really cool ones from his time in Hawaii. He absolutely loved it. He loved Hawaii. He loved Japan. He loved China. He loved Korea. he loved the people, and I know he wanted to live there. I know so bad he totally wanted to live there. He's got so many pictures of the people, and I don't know, he is just, I know he was just there to see the world. You know, he wasn't a soldiering type, and he took advantage of it, and you know, saw as much as he could. He really did. He was doing all sorts of traveling. I even was lucky enough to get his passport. His photo's pretty cool and crazy. But yeah, his, you know, things in the Saigon and Hong Kong and Vietnam. It's just really fascinating stuff. I could do endless videos about it. It all was so cool. He's got pictures of the walled city in China that he had a hotel room. In a couple of them, he wrote some where he was, luckily, or else I would have never been able to find it. So I googled this. Kowloon, China is a walled city, ancient walled city in China. You can't see the wall because it was probably a little foggy, but if you Google it, you can see real clearly the walled city. And he's got Hong Kong. What is this? One of the many streets in Hong Kong. This one was neat. This is his trip from the Kowloon, China to Hong Kong Harbor, the bay. From Kowloon, China to Hong Kong, China. He must have really loved this bridge because there's like 40 pictures of this bridge, and I found it, and it's in Japan. It was called the Kanatai Bridge. He didn't have a name. The bridge is seen from a distance. So a bunch of them, he's like standing on the bridge, and like, this is did I write it down? Yep. This is, I think, in North Korea. When I Googled it, the Great Southern Gate, Korea, 14th century. Some of the pictures I've seen of this is a pretty old picture that he took in, I think, 1959. There's no date on it, but that's roughly the timeline. These are very early 60s, and this has got to be Japan. This is a palace or castle in Japan. He had a few pictures of that. Another gigantic pavilion thingy. Famous ancient gateway entrance. Again with that wooden bridge that he loved. There's just so many pictures of this thing. Here he is in front of it in 62. Here he is in front of it again. It's wooden, this bridge. It's super old, made of wood. Here he is standing on it. Another one of him on it. So he definitely had a thing for this bridge. He's even in this one, it says you can't hardly see. One of the humps of the bridge, you can hardly see me. Yeah. That's him right there. And he didn't even write the name of the bridge down, which is weird. So I don't know, maybe, you know, not having Google and stuff back then, cultures were probably a little bit secretive. Who knows? Who knows? Here he is here with a bunch of his boys. I don't know if they're in Hawaii here. There's no date, and I can't really place the timeline on this where they are. He's definitely really young, and this is early in the Corps. So he's got a bunch of pictures of this same lady. And I don't know, he must have had a thing for her because there's a whole bunch of pictures of him and her, and then his buddies too, even, which was a little bit creepy. That the one picture I noticed, the dude, okay, so he's with these guys in a bunch of pictures, and they're all in the same clothes in a whole series of pictures. And it looks like he's holding the same doll that she is in this picture, right? So that was kind of creepy. And there's a bunch where here's all four of them again. My dad's here. Where's the other ones of them all together? This is in the same room. I don't know if it was the next day, but I could tell it's the same room. Here's the same shirt. He's out in the woods or wherever the hell they are, and he's in that same exact shirt. His buddy, his one friend, and again in that same shirt, his buddy. None of these are labeled. So here goes that girl again. Where else? Let's see. There was like a whole bunch. This is the coolest one, I thought. This is a fucking ancient picture, and whatever's in that pipe is basically glowing. You can't tell, but I mean, look how bright that is in that pipe. And look, of course, he's smiling like some bitch. But that's that same lady right here. That's her. Let's see, I found a couple others too with that same woman. But anyway, he must have had a thing for her. I do believe this is my great grandfather or great great grandfather. This writing is so old, nobody or nothing can translate it. And you could kind of see a bit of a resemblance of me and my dad in that guy. But some of these pictures, I wish I could just have 5 minutes again. I would give anything I own for one more minute with either one of them, you know. I just kept falling apart seeing these pictures of my parents who I really were not all that super close with. But I mean, it was emotionally draining. I fucking fell apart a bunch of times trying to go through these. And these are only some of them. This is like the gigantic, one of the biggest monuments in the world. It's something like 330 feet tall, the Great White Statue, and I believe it was Hong Kong or Japan, China. I can't even remember. I was Googling so much stuff, I was just going crazy on a rabbit hunt. It was kind of fun, to be honest with you, finding these hotels. And this one was in, this one was hard to nail, but this was in Waikiki, the Manoa Hotel. I had that. This is my writing, and yeah, the First Lady of Waikiki. This hotel. Yeah, this Mormon thing in Hawaii, and so he also has, and he must have got them as souvenirs. But anyway, there are so many of these. There's like over 1,000 of these pictures, and as I was going through them, kind of putting them together and seeing his buddies, and they're in the same clothes in a lot of these pictures. So he must have took R&R or something together and went to like Hong Kong or some shit. But he also had a good sized stack of actual war pictures. He loved luau's. He has quite a few pictures of luau type activities, and him with leis, and I just wish more of them were labeled. It's weird that he's got the same little mark. I don't know what the hell that marking is, but this was, I was able to Google this one, and this actually turned up. These must have been more famous people, the Tahitian troupe. Waikiki Village Hotel. Just me doing research for hours and hours and hours, Googling all this shit. And this was just a small part of it. This isn't even a fraction of it. This is a world famous Chinese restaurant in Hawaii, Waikiki, the Liu Choi restaurant. But again, his thing over there was repairing helicopters and aircraft. And he was not mechanical. I swear he just did that because he wouldn't have to shoot at people. And who wouldn't like to be around aircraft, and not have to get shot at? But as a Marine and doing all this traveling, he picked up, I don't think he was there, but he's got a lot of pictures of bombed out stuff on fire, and then he's got a huge stack of like real war pictures with tons of dead bodies. And I think that's why I was never allowed to go anywhere near that thing growing up, was because of these pictures here, which there's like a ton of them. These are ones that he must have had enlarged later on, because I found like this negative thing and a date. So these ones, I don't know if he got them as a souvenir or what, because I don't think he was there for this one. This is Bougainville, because there's writing on it. And when I researched it, this was too early. He wasn't in the military at this point. So this whole thing is interesting on its own. I have no idea where the hell he got these pictures. In researching them, I found 2 or 3 or 4 maybe online. So they are like out there. But tons and tons of these are not out there. So I spent quite a while uploading today to Wikipedia. I have a whole bunch with these his Navy ships that he took over. He had to go to overseas on a ship, and there's a lot of pictures of that stuff. And he always said every time he'd go somewhere on a ship in the Orient, you could always smell wherever you were going before you could see it. So it didn't matter if it was Japan or China, Hong Kong, Vietnam. The only place he didn't say was Hawaii. Hawaii, he never said that stunk. But he said you could literally smell these places long before you could even see them when you're coming in by boat. Or ship, I should say. But these pictures were incredible, and there's a lot of media with this battle, because this battle is after, it's like after Iwo Jima, after the Solomon Islands, after all that, or maybe that's not the right one, after all the most of the Pacific theater have been conquered, or we were 2.5 years into the fight at this point, and there was a lot of media coverage. If you Google it, Bougainville's got a ton of pictures, movies, a real lot of stuff, like live stuff. So that was kind of interesting, but not these. I've only seen a couple, like 3 of these pictures, and this was one of them. These are Japanese soldiers that held out on the island for like a year after the fighting was over. And that went on for a couple of years. These guys would never give up. They would starve to death before they would give up. What does this one say? Artillery. Blast at Japanese on Bougainville. Some of these pictures have entire fields full of dead bodies. It's like, oh my god, no wonder you didn't want me to see these. Troops line Bougainville Beach. It was such a shit show. So, direct hit on Jap machine gun nest. His name escapes me, but the Japanese commander on this island was the same commander. It was the 6th Regiment that was also the Rape of Nanking Regiment. These were the same group of people, the same group of Japanese that did the Rape of Nanking, the famed 6th. Some of these pictures are so cool. So I really don't know where the hell he got these, but I know he wasn't there. Repairing tanks. There's a big thing of shoes. We're all going through for shoes. That looks like it might be Korea, but... And again, these are another example. They all kind of have like the same number. It's so weird. I could go through all these. I really should. I could do videos all about just these. There's so many of them. These are the smaller ones. There are bigger ones that are easier to see. I should be showing us. But pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. A lot of dogs. They use dogs. Dead bodies in that one. And I don't think I'm supposed to be showing that shit, but this is some important history. He's got a lot with these ships too that he must have took over. And these ships are all gone. None of these ships are even here anymore. Here's that same lady. Here's the USS Orskany, an old aircraft carrier. And I looked up all these numbers. This was a Henrico. I think that's a town or city in New Mexico, maybe. This one back here. Every one of these ships is no longer around. 73. So when I Googled it, that was the USS St. Paul. I think he took one of these over. These were one of the ships he rode over on. I Googled them. The Renshaw and the Epperson, side by side here. 62. I don't know where the heck he is. I should try and do the translator on that one. But he loved it. There's so many pictures of the culture and the people. This was the hospital ship, the Mercy, in Okinawa. This must have been his trip over. There's so many. I have so many to go through, and I probably will do a bunch of videos. It's so interesting. I've already burned up a half an hour. Jeez. I want to say it's my grandfather. I don't know for sure, though. The guy sitting. Yep. Pretty neat stuff. A little emotionally taxing, and then at the same time, it's really, really cool. He's got pictures from like the Doolittle raid and just amazing stuff. I don't know. I almost think some of it may be historically valuable, not on a monetary scale, but these ships are no longer around. But anyway, pretty interesting stuff. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.